How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Doing
Good.
okay. I'm ready to talk about some ghosts, some ghosty boys.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one, I think.
You think?
I think.
Right. I'm excited to hear what you got. Okay.
So, Ghost is a pretty wide topic here, Tin Man.
It's a very you know what? I um I started looking into this and I didn't realize how broad of a term ghost was. Um
Mhm,
in a sense that like there are different like I knew there was different names for ghosts and there was different types of ghosts and stuff like that. But
mhm,
I didn't realize, I don't think, how many different cultures, like how ghosts were different in different cultures. Does that make
mhm.
sense? And so it's a pretty broad spectrum.
Yeah, well, I was kind of prepping my stream a little bit, but I think that because it is such a broad topic, we'll probably be touching on a bunch of different things tonight, a bunch of different ideas,
Mhm.
some history, um, ghost hunting, maybe communicating with ghosts. So there's a lot of different avenues we can go down tonight, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we were to do like a huge history of ghosts and everything that it encompasses, I think that that would probably take multiple episodes. Um,
Yeah,
time that we just don't have. We can't devote to it.
multi-episode ghost discussion.
Yeah, we'd be here until like December
Yeah. Well,
discussing
just
ghosts.
we could still discuss ghosts in December because then we can segue into oh shoot, what is the name of that?
Christmas Carol?
Chris Yes.
There you go.
That has ghosts. That has Christmas ghosts.
Everything has ghosts in it. And we could talk about Nightmare Before Christmas as well.
There you go.
Boom.
Skeletons and ghosts.
And
Yeah.
clowns with tearaway faces.
Yes. All right. So let's bring it back here for
Yeah.
a second. So I know you just mentioned that in your research you saw that kind of across cultures ghosts mean different things to
Mhm.
different people, different cultures. Historically, they have different names.
Right.
Um, I think that one thing we can say, though, I think the one thing that sort of ties all this together is the very basic, the most essential definition of what a ghost is.
Okay.
And I think that you can say across any sort of ghost story or iteration
Hmm.
that it all has to do it is the soul, the essence of someone or something who has died.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
That is the bare minimum.
Yeah, that's the one number one criteria for being a quote unquote ghost or whatever you choose to call it.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, like you said, it's the soul or essence or
Life force.
life force, whatever, ether, whatever you want to say of a something that has deceased. Um
Mhm.
now okay, so the issue is that there are many types of ghosts. Um, you got your what do they call them? Living ghost, which is like someone who doesn't know that they're a ghost. Like what's that movie with Bruce Willis? The Sixth Sense, right? Like so you got like that.
Spoilers.
Oh, sorry, spoilers. Yes, you got like that. You got the orbs is a popular one. Um,
Mhm.
poltergeists. Um, missing some. Help me out here, Biscuit.
Yeah, I think that it's sort of you can break it up into, like, human type ghosts
Hmm.
and, like, all of their iterations, and
Okay.
then sort of, like, ghostly phenomenon, so, like, orbs would fall into that, like you mentioned.
Hmm.
There's, like, funnel ghosts, and I think those pop up when there's, like,
Those are the ones
a
with the cold
extreme
spots, right?
yeah, cold
Yeah,
spots.
yeah, yeah.
There's also, like, the mist type of ghosts that, like,
Hmm.
appear you see those a lot in, like, photos and stuff,
Yeah.
like the mist ghosts or whatever. So I kind of categorize those as, like, ghostly phenomenon,
Okay.
and
Nice.
then there's the human type of ghosts, like you mentioned. So there are the ghosts who maybe don't know they've died and are, I I don't know, living as a ghost as they would live in their real life. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess.
I
I
think that
mean,
one's a little bit harder to pin down.
yeah.
Um, but they're also so is it like instant death ghosts? So like if someone's just suffered a tragedy, then that person knows they're dead, but they will communicate messages of hope or good feelings to those that they left behind, their loved ones.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then there's the one that sort of falls right in the center, where it's more of a like energy that's left behind.
Okay.
So it's something that will. It's sort of like watching a movie, I guess, where an occurrence, the energy left behind will replay scenes from someone's life,
Hmm.
and so, like, those aren't it's just a recording, so those ghosts don't have any sort of, like, will of their own,
Right.
essentially, if that
Right.
makes
It's just
sense.
like a flashback kind of
Yeah,
thing, like a
and I
vision.
think I think that's, like, the most common types.
Yeah, believe so. Either that, um, or like, I guess. So I'm looking at this website, right, and it says the interactive personality, which is it's someone you know and they like interact with you in some way. So they talk, they make noises, they touch, emit an odor of some sort, and I think I would say this one's probably the most common because it's what it seems like. Okay, so all the ghost hunting TV shows, you know, like
Mhm.
they always when they do like their dramatic recreations, it's like this type of ghost where it's someone that's like
Yeah.
haunting the place and they come out and they're like, "Oh, didn't see you standing there." And then they like vanish before your eyes. Um so like
Yeah.
it's I think that's probably the most common.
I
Um
mean, those are the ghosts that don't know they're dead, right? And they're just kind of, like, interacting with their environment like they would if they were alive.
yeah, yeah, I guess so. Hmm.
I mean,
Uh
I think that within the types of ghosts that we talked about, there's definitely, like, in-betweens or, like, certain cases. So, like, poltergeist, like, that's another one where that's more of, like, an actual, like, ghost entity that could be, it's, like, interacting with the environment. It
right,
could potentially be, like, mean or threatening.
right.
So there's kind of variations of ghosts within the types that we talked about.
Right. I think these are like very vague. Not so much vague, but just like an umbrella of like if it falls under this cat like this um criteria, then like we would classify it as this, like in a general sense. Not like it's definitively this type of ghost. It's no other it's no other type of ghost, it's only this type of ghost. So like you said, I think there's like crossovers, and it kind of, like you said, it's like they all kind of fit together, sort of ish.
Yeah, they all fit within one of those categories.
Yeah,
So either like a human-esque. There's also animal. I guess we could categorize animals as their own ghosts as well,
don't want
because
to
there
think
are
about
ghosts of
animals.
animals. So it's kind of like human or animal, like the form of a human or animal, and then more of like the phenomenon where it's just like ghost or orbs or
Right.
sort of like the energy presence
Ghostly
of a
lights.
ghost. Yeah.
Um,
So
so go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so there's a lot of ghost variation, like I
Yeah, I
guess
wasn't
from
aware.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, anyone who watches like ghost hunting shows could probably tell you about all of like the ghostly phenomenon. Like I said, the orbs and the mist, those always show up in like photographs.
Mhm.
A lot of times they'll show up in the camera work that the ghost hunters, the cameras that they have there. Um, I feel like I very rarely see. Well, now whether or not these shows are actually real or not, that's we can talk about that later.
Yes.
But from the shows, you rarely ever see like a full humanoid type of ghost.
Mhm.
It's more of like the mist and the orbs and the like, hey, we think something's here. Here's something to like show that stuff is going on, but they never see like a full humanoid ghost. Very
Right.
rarely.
Yeah, you'll hear, I don't know, something move off in the distance. Oh, it must be a ghost.
Yeah. And
Clearly.
they snap a photo and it's just like the orb or whatever.
Yeah. Or they snap a photo when it's nothing.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So
Um,
I'm just looking at chat now, and it's interesting to see for those of you who have just joined either in my chat or Tin Man's chat. We want to leave time at the end of our stream for everyone to kind of talk about their own experiences if you
mhm.
feel like you want to. And I just say that because I've already had a couple people mention that they have had their own ghost experiences. And so it's interesting to me to see how common this is. Um, kind of amongst our community.
You know, it, I've had experiences, but I wouldn't necessarily classify them as like ghostly encounters. So, but like I've had some weird stuff happen to me, you know. So, but also we'll talk about it at the end. We'll talk about it at the end.
Yeah.
Um, but what I want to say is I think that you have to sort of open yourself up to have those experiences,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. So, like, if you firmly don't believe in ghosts and don't believe in the paranormal at all, you're probably not going to have, like, you're probably not going to have that many experiences, if any. Um, I think that if you are more open and accepting of ghosts and paranormal stuff and all that junk, you're probably going to be like more open to it. Now, whether that's whether that is you wanting it, like wanting to see it, so you kind of make yourself see it,
Yeah.
or if it's actually happening because you've opened yourself up to it, that's a different discussion.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like a very fine line because I would say I don't not believe in ghosts.
Mhm.
So not like I'm walking around like waiting to experience something supernatural, but yeah, it's that fine line of like if you open yourself up, are you just seeing what you're expecting to see, or is it actually everything that you said? I don't know. It's just that kind of but I don't think you can't discredit what people experience and what they see.
No,
Um,
I
so from anyone who has a ghost story, I think whether you personally believe in ghosts or not, for people who do have those ghost stories, I mean, that's something that they experience, something that
yeah,
happened to
for
them.
sure, and I definitely want to
Yeah.
hear them. I definitely want
Yeah.
to hear them. I'm not trying to discredit them. What I'm trying to say is like, even if you don't believe, like, put yourself in the person that has experienced its shoes, kind of thing. Because if you don't
Mhm.
believe, you're going to be like, oh, that you're going to try and find ways to discredit it. You're going to try and find ways to explain it away, and then that's when you're like just completely pushing that person to the side and saying, "Oh, that doesn't happen." Um,
Mhm.
so, but if you're able to empathize a little bit and say, "Okay, I don't believe, but I want to know what happened so I can try and feel it for myself," kind of thing, like on the outside looking in, it might give you a better idea of what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
So, do you want to continue on with all the ghost talk, or do you want to start talking about like how like ghost hunting works?
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have much else to say. I just wanted to kind of go over like ghost basics. So what is a ghost? What kind of ghosts are there? But yeah, I mean, I think we can segue into ghost hunting. And I think that something else that's important to talk about is maybe like communication with ghosts.
Hmm.
Because I think they kind of go hand in hand where, like we mentioned, ghost stories have been around almost since like humans have been around, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
it's this belief that there is something after you die, that people have a soul or a life force
Hmm.
that exits their body when they pass away. And so you can go back to um civilizations that were pre um what is it called, pre-written word.
Hmm.
What is that? I forgot the term for that. But you guys know what I'm talking
I
about.
know what you're talking about, but I don't
So
know the
even
term.
even before they had a written language, there were stories of ghosts. So, and I think probably for that same amount of time, there's been this question, if the soul exists, if ghosts exist, is there a way to communicate with them, or is there a way to communicate and quantify them, if
Hmm.
that makes sense?
Yeah, I think let's talk about communicating with ghosts first, and then after that we can go into um, ghost hunting, quote unquote.
Mhm.
Um, so one thing you see a lot in movies is what, a séance, right? That's how you say it, séance.
Mhm.
Um, so they'll, I mean, you know, it's it's always the same thing. They light some candles. It's an all dark room, and they have a Ouija board, right? And but I don't. I feel like personally, like you probably don't need to have all that stuff. Um, like I said, I feel like if you open yourself up to it, you can do it pretty regularly. I know some people that have done that, and they claim to have received messages back from ghosts. I haven't experienced it myself, but um, that's just what they say.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can go back and even before like what the seances that we're familiar with and say, again, civilizations have always had this like sort of spiritual leader or someone who interacts with spirits, or I mean, it wasn't termed the paranormal, but essentially, the paranormal. Um, and so it is interesting to see sort of the present day um, ritual associated with it, because it is a ritual, right? Like you said, the Ouija board, the hand holding, all this other stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but it what we know has a very rocky history. because or I should say, well, yeah, Rocky, because a lot of people, when it became really popular, started to debunk it. There were a lot of fakes,
Hmm.
and so I think it kind of threw what we know as, these seances or speaking with the dead or ghosts and spirits is like, is it real? Is it not real?
Right.
Like, I don't know. There's a lot of questions out there.
Right. And I think that, like you said, it started getting debunked, and then it's like, so it gets debunked, and like you said, there's a lot of fakes. So then it's like, well, everybody's a fake then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it kind of discredits everyone who believes in ghosts, who tries to speak with ghosts. Um, uh, paranormal investigators, like really famous one is Ed and Lorraine Warren. Is that her name? Um, the Annabelle people, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
Oh,
Lorraine.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Mhm,
they were big ghost hunters.
mhm.
And so, and even to this day, they're said to be con artists, hoax. They're hoaxers. Um, and so they've been doing it since what, the 50s, something like that.
Mhm,
So for 60 years, 70 years almost, um, they've been told that they're fakes. And so
mhm.
I think it comes back to, if you open yourself up to it, if you really believe in ghosts, there's really no limit to the things that you can do. Um, Now I
Yeah,
wouldn't touch a Ouija board, but that's just me.
I just think it's so interesting, and I know we keep touching on this of the, whether or not you believe in ghosts, like, there's things happen to people, but, it's just the kind of divide between people who believe and people who don't believe is almost, to me, more interesting than, like, ghosts themselves, which is a little bit weird to say, but like the general consensus in a majority of the scientific community is that there is no proof of ghosts. There never has been like hard scientific evidence.
Mhm.
A lot of um classic feelings or emotions have been debunked, and so it's just, but at the same time I have friends who swear up and down that they have some sort of connection with the spiritual world,
Mhm.
and it's so interesting to me because I mean, obviously I don't think that my friends are lying.
Right.
I believe them, but at the same time, like, I've never seen a ghost. I don't have any ghost experience. I consider myself like a pragmatic believer,
Mhm.
right? So I've never seen it, so I can't really say that I believe in ghosts, but if something were to happen to me, then you know, I I'm not against changing my mind. But it's just, I don't know. It's just very interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the big divide actually, I mean, okay, so not entirely because of this, but I think a good chunk of it has to do with the popularity that ghost hunting got in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, think about how many TV shows there were that were on like the Sci-Fi
Yeah.
Channel or whatever, USA or whatever, that were all about hunting ghosts, ghost hunters, and paranormal Midwest. Even now, like
Mhm.
on like the History Channel and stuff, they have like Haunted America and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like the over the top nature of some of those ghost hunting teams.
They're
Look,
pretty ridiculous.
like, I don't know if you guys have watched Ghost Hunters recently with Zach Braggins, however you say his name.
I like him.
You
He's
like him? He is the biggest douchebag I've ever seen in my life.
he is, but that's what's so funny.
I
It's
mean,
like this
yeah,
it's like this bro who decided to go ghost hunting.
yeah.
Like,
Like it's hilarious to watch, but I
Yeah,
can't
it's
take him
great. It's great
seriously.
entertainment.
I can't take him seriously as like a ghost hunter because the person's like telling him the history of what's going on. He's like, "Oh, okay, all right, well let's go hunt some ghosts." It's like, okay, sure, dude. I guess just throw all that history out the window and just set up your stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but I think that that's a big issue um, with why there's such a divide in
Mhm.
believing and not believing is because for a while there it was everywhere. It was everywhere. Um, and so I think you just kind of get sick of it, and then you have, like I said, you have over the top people that are acting like they're talking to ghosts, and I don't know.
Mhm. So there's something that I want to pursue a little bit that's happening in my chat right now.
Right?
So, and Pizzy, I hope that's okay. But so I guess when I was just mentioning like friends who have described having a sort of like sixth sense
Hmm.
or kind of like spiritual connection. I guess I was thinking of it as like, kind of lumped into the same category as ghosts.
Okay.
But Pizzy, who has this gift, says that he's never experienced ghosts before or never had a ghost experience,
Okay.
but still has. I don't know, how would you describe it, Pizzy? You say it's more of a warning. So sort of like I guess it would be a sixth sense in a way,
A
right?
spider
Like,
sense?
well,
Like, and not to like discredit it. I'm not trying,
yeah.
but like, because like you always see him like uh he in the comics and stuff, he always gets that like buzz above his head or whatever, and then he can like dodge out of the way. So I get that's that kind of thing, kind
I
of. I
guess I'm
mean,
just
not like
trying to yeah, I guess
that.
I'm just trying to like figure out, is there a difference between like this sort of like sixth sense, like like otherworldly connection, or uh like versus actual ghosts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm not
Yeah.
trying to. I don't want you to think, Pizzy, that I'm trying to like downplay it or be. I'm not trying to be a prick about it. Really, I'm not. Um, I'm just like Biscuit. I'm just
Just
trying
like
to.
clarification, because it's interesting. I've had, I guess, when I say I have friends who have some sort of like spiritual connection or gift, I always just assume that it also had to do with ghosts, but maybe it's something entirely different, which is a completely different avenue. But yeah,
Yeah, sickness and major dizziness, and something very good or bad will happen to someone close to you. Interesting.
so yeah, so more of a sixth sense kind of thing.
Never know who it is or the
Interesting.
direction, but it always happens. Now, does it ever happen to you? Like, do you get sick or like majorly dizzy, and then the good or bad thing happens to you, or is it always to someone else? That's my question. That's interesting, though.
Yeah, I guess that's like a whole nother topic, is sort of like people with gifts, I guess,
Hmm.
and sort of I'm sure there's wide variety of people who experience different things and can do different things.
Hmm.
So I don't know, maybe for a future topic, but um,
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
interesting. Sorry, I thought that was worth
No, for
pursuing,
sure.
but
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, because there are people. I mean, there are people who, I mean, have experiences or gifts that also do relate to ghosts.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I don't know, just something interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I would be interested in revisiting that topic in the future, actually.
Yeah,
Um, that's really interesting.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, so going back to like seances and everything, I know we just kind of touched on the divide between, people who believe and people who don't believe. But just like the kind of present day seances or even the ghost shows, I mean, there's there's just people who love it, people who eat it up, and people who just think that is awful and they don't believe one bit of it. But um, it's really hard to figure out what could be real, what's fake, and if there are people doing this stuff who truly believe that things are happening when they really aren't. So
Right.
it's you have this wide gambit of people and experiences. So
Yeah, I think another issue comes with, um, if you tell someone, not every time, but usually if you tell someone that you believe in ghosts or the paranormal or Bigfoot or aliens or whatever, um, you kind of get looked at like, really, why,
mhm.
kind of thing, and it kind of that's another reason it causes a divide is that people aren't really open to other people being open to it, and it's like
Yeah.
it's it's really it kind of causes some strain between those two people if that comes out and the person's not okay with it or they're not understanding, um and so that's why a lot of people are like, well, maybe it doesn't exist then. Like if I'm crazy for believing in it, then it must be false, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's not always so black and white, obviously.
Yeah, there's kind of like a stigma placed on it almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I think that the modern day seances and stuff, I think that there are still some fakes,
Oh, for sure.
obviously, but I think
Yeah.
that you know it's something, in my personal opinion, it's not something to be like trifled with. um it's not
Mhm.
something that you should just take lightly. If you're going to do it, you should do it and be respectful, because you don't know who or what going to answer back. And I think that's the scariest part for me, and that's why I would probably never participate in one. um that's just me.
Yeah, well, that's like the classic dilemma, right? You could potentially, even if you don't believe, you still kind of believe because if there is something out there, you don't want it to hurt you or curse you.
Right, yeah.
So that's always the dilemma. Um, and yeah, I mean, there have been plenty of movies about it,
The
especially
Exorcist.
about the Ouija board. But like, I had a friend in high school who had paranormal experiences or some sort of gift, and just always told me like never, like the Ouija boards are just never a good idea. Like never ever use them.
Yeah, and I think the scariest part of a Ouija board is, so when you hear the term Ouija, right? Ouija board, like you think of what, like the Milton Bradley Parker Brothers, right?
Oh yeah, well you can buy it at any Walmart or
Right.
like right.
But did you know that to be considered a Ouija board, like it's just literally the alphabet on a piece of paper and some sort of looking glass?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
well, that's
that's
like I
all
said,
it takes.
movies, like yeah, there are movies where people are, like, yeah, drawing on a piece of paper or writing it in blood on the wall or whatever,
Right.
so it doesn't have to be like an actual board, but
No.
yeah, but I get where you're coming from.
And it's like that's really scary. Not to mention I'm from St. Louis. I like The Exorcist, right? That is based on a kid from St. Louis. Like the St. Alexia's Brothers Hospital, it no longer stands, but the they rebuilt it. They tore it down and they rebuilt it like next door,
Hmm,
right? Because that makes sense.
right?
Um, but apparently, one of the floor that the kid was held on or whatever is still haunted, like to this day. Like they don't use it. They don't use it at all. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, obviously there are ghosts who in and of themselves aren't necessarily like they're just kind of there. I mean, you get the uh I guess you could get angry ghosts or ghosts, poltergeists
Mhm.
who may wish you ill will, but for the most part, I mean, you're not really messing with anything like bad,
Hopefully.
but the fact that I mean, I think the idea is you could be trying to summon a ghost when in fact you're summoning something else.
Right.
uh Demonic, if you also believe in that. So
Yes.
um I don't know. Uh I would be interested to find out how many people, like, are there people who believe in ghosts but not demons, or
Ooh.
ghosts, they believe in ghosts but um not necessarily any sort of like afterlife. I don't know. I would just be it would be interesting to hear what people's beliefs are and if there's overlap or um
I have a very interesting. I think it's interesting view on what ghosts are, but I'll save that for more.
okay.
Um, but
Am I jumping ahead?
no, it's I think we're getting a little bit off track. Um, what was I gonna say? So yeah, seances. Uh, there, like I said, I think you got to be. I think you need to be respectful if you're gonna do one. Um, I think that you can really run the risk of causing more harm than you are gonna do good. But if you want to do one, then by all means, do it up. That's my thought.
Hmm.
Um, do you want to jump into ghost hunting, or is there any more that you want to talk about with like talking ghosts?
Yeah, well, I think so Pirate Monkey hopped in and said, I would never try a Ouija board. I don't believe in it, but why risk it? And
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's those are the feelings of probably a lot of people. But yeah, we can hop into ghost hunting.
Okay, so I was not aware that ghost hunting and paranormal investigators have been around since the 18th century.
Mhm.
Did you know that?
I did from my research for this
Okay, I
podcast,
meant before
but
the
not prior to
research.
that. No.
Okay. I think that's really interesting, that people have been investigating paranormal situations, experiences, or whatever you want to call them, um, since the 18th century. Um, it I would like to know more about how it was done, um, in the early days of it, because a lot of what we see today is pretty much the same thing. You know, they go in, they have the EMF meters, they have video like night vision cameras posted up. Um,
Some
au-
kind of contraption to
some
help you quantify or record
right,
ghosts.
they have like audio recorders in every room and mics and everything like that. Um, but I would be interested to know what exactly the quote unquote equipment was to um, investigate paranormal stuff in the 18th century. I don't know. I didn't find anything on like the equipment. Did you?
No, I saw like you that it went back quite a ways more than I was expecting. But yeah, I mean, we have these present day tools that are definitely more modern technology, but I didn't find any information about like what was used in the past.
Yeah.
Um
Pirate Monkey says, I'm assuming religion played a huge part in ancient ghost hunting. See, that makes sense. Um,
Mm, yeah.
that because a lot of the stories, were there wasn't like you said, it was like pre written word. So a lot of those stories of
Yeah.
ghosts and the supernatural and stuff, they would be passed down through vocal stories, um, word of mouth.
Mhm.
And so I think he's right that a religion would play a whole big part into ancient ghosts.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if you're thinking it in that way, there could be tests or items or things uh, based in that religion that could be used to sort of like quantify the ghosts, you know?
Mhm.
Like if you light these herbs on fire and the smoke blows a certain way, that means that there are ghosts present, you know? Like I don't know.
So let me ask you this question. All right. Do you think that people believe in ghosts? The ones that believe in ghosts, do you think they believe in ghosts so they have something to believe in?
Wait, say that again?
The people that believe in ghosts,
Yes.
do you think that they believe in ghosts so they have something to believe in so that it gives them like in their mind there is ghosts, so therefore there must be an afterlife.
Well, that was my question. I think that most people would probably say yeah, yes. I mean, if you believe in ghosts, then you believe in the afterlife.
Mm,
This the two are tied together. But like Tack said earlier in my stream, I mean, there are different theories for what ghosts are. And so I think you can believe in ghosts without necessarily believing. I
mm,
mean, I think there has to be some level of belief, right? Like you have to believe that humans have a soul that I don't know releases or well, actually, maybe not even that necessarily. I mean, there are some theories that ghosts are more like remnants of energy, and
okay.
so that kind of cuts out like the soul and the afterlife altogether. So it's more of like a natural phenomenon versus more of a like spiritual phenomenon. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I don't know.
Um, I was just curious what your thoughts were. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Pirate Monkey says early ghost hunting was kind of seen as witchcraft or heresy. So there are few reports of that kind of activity until the early Victorian period when it became a bit more mainstream, quote unquote, popular due to the fascination with the supernatural. That coincides with what the person in your chat saying that religious people thought that it was a good idea to drown women to see if they were witches. That's true, but
Yeah.
that doesn't discredit ghosts because religious people thought that people were witches. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, yes. Yes. I mean, I think that there have been records of ghosts. I mean, obviously, yes, I'm sure they were prevalent within different religions, but I think that, well, I don't know.
All I'm
It,
saying is,
it's probably even historically heavily based in religion because you have to believe that people have a soul or a life essence, which lends itself to some sort of like higher higher being or like some sort of you know what I'm saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think that with as many religions, or not religions, civilizations, with as many civilizations that have stories, um, encounters, um, experiences with ghosts throughout the years, that it's a bit short sighted to completely dismiss them, um, just because we don't have any proof. And that's the same line of thinking I have with things like aliens and Bigfoot, but I'm also a little bit of a nut, and that's fine.
Yeah, I'm yeah, I don't know. It's a topic that really makes you think. Or makes me think because I am in that bucket of well, I don't know. I guess I'm still technically in the pragmatic bucket.
Mhm,
Like I don't really believe in any sort of afterlife. I
mhm.
believe once you're gone, you're gone. Um, but but how would I know?
You won't know till
I
you
wouldn't
die,
know
and then
until
you
I'm
come
dead.
back as a ghost and haunt me and let me know.
Or it's the same kind of thing. I've never seen a ghost. I could say that I don't really believe in ghosts, but if I were to have a ghostly experience, could that change my mind? Maybe. It depends on what kind of experience it is. I don't know. It's just I don't know. Ghosts are interesting because they lead to a lot of other implications and beliefs. So,
I agree.
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Hilaria says that she's seen many ghosts and they've talked to her. Hilaria, I would love to hear your thoughts, like your um experiences. I really would. I really would.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's some chat going on about scientists
Mhm.
because I know we mentioned earlier that generally the scientific community kind of debunks ghosts. But yeah, Tack, I think that there have scientists have worked hand in hand to try and like prove different ghost theories or phenomenon. So I think that there has really been a concerted effort to try and quantify and get that hard evidence of ghosts and spirits. And I don't think it's really happened.
So here's the issue with the scientists that have tried to disprove ghosts is that um, they don't often try to disprove the paranormal, and they more often try to disprove the technology that people use to hunt ghosts,
Mhm.
or they'll try and recreate the paranormal experience, and they fail to do so. So they say, "Well, ghosts don't exist if we can't recreate it," which is a fine assessment. However, like I said earlier, if you don't open yourself up, if you're not opened up to it, in my opinion, you're not going to have it happen. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So if you're completely shutting that door and saying ghosts don't exist, now let me try and go out and recreate this paranormal experience to see if I get a response, I don't think it's going to happen personally. But I don't know because I'm not
I
an
I
expert.
mean, I think that there's always going to be um, some bias in within any community. So if we're talking about the scientific community, I'm sure there's bias. But I think for the most part, if you're talking about um, just a scientist, right? I mean,
Hmm.
the goal of science is to come up with a theory, test it, figure out the results. Like I don't think science in general is anti-ghost, right?
Right,
It's
but
just it's just part of the process. Like
right,
so
I understand that. But what I'm
yeah.
saying is, if the scientist is not open to it, then it won't matter. It's not a scientific thing. Paranormal experiences aren't a scientific thing. They're a personal thing. Does that
Oh,
make
I guess
sense?
I guess that's what I'm saying. So like if you're a scientist and you are trying to prove a theory, whether it's you know, the earth is round or ghosts exist. I mean, I think as a scientist you have to be open to the possibilities of your theory, right? So like I don't know if that counts as what you're trying to convey. I mean, I think that a scientist should go in without preconceived notions,
Hmm.
right? It's like, here's my theory. I'm going to test it to the best of my ability, and we're going to see what the results are. So, in an ideal world, a scientist trying to get data on a ghost wouldn't be closed off to that experience, right?
Hmm.
I guess. I don't know. But if you're saying it's more of like a spiritual thing and, the scientist testing it doesn't have that like spiritual quality that is needed for ghosts, which that's maybe another discussion point. I don't know. But then maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I don't know either. I don't know. Anyways, what were we talking about before we got on this subject? Ghost hunting.
Yeah. Well, yes. Ghost hunting.
Pirate Monkey says, uh, ancient ghost hunting tools, right? Because we both were trying to come up with ideas for what they would be. Um, he says he had uh, Harry Price had a laboratory seance room and used stuff like a bowl of mercury to detect tremors in a room, as well as electroscopes and a galvanometer, to detect electricity, barographs, um, thermographs, and air testers to record the circulation of air. Interesting.
Hmm.
So that's just like stuff that we use today, for the most part. Like barometers record atmospheric pressure. Thermometers, um, obviously.
Mhm.
Interesting. That's like stuff that like meteorologists use.
Yeah. So it sounds like
So meteorologists are paranormal researchers confirmed.
interesting.
Kidding. Kidding. Whatever. All right.
I get it.
Go on. What else are we talking about?
Yeah, so I mean just the methods and items used to hunt ghosts. I mean, it
Yes.
sounds like some of the items that were used in the past are very similar to current day contraptions or technology or uh items used.
It
So that's
it is interesting though that out of all of those things, like they don't really use any of that now. Like you don't like you see like digital thermometers and stuff, but how often do they use a barometer to record atmospheric pressure on Ghost Adventure? You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like
Yeah.
they use the EMF machines to detect electromagnetic currents and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's interesting that they don't. I don't know. I've never seen an EMF machine or any of that stuff, so I wouldn't know if maybe it has barometer built in. But
My favorite ghost hunting machine based on all of the shows that I've watched. Now, whether or not they actually work, that's neither here nor there. But in the context of the shows, I love the recorders.
the audio recorder,
Yeah, because they're just kind of ridiculous. Like it's cool that you can hear like this stuff recorded on there, but the lengths that the shows always go through to like convince you that it definitely said a specific thing
mm-hmm.
is kind of funny to me.
Oh, hilarious! It's ridiculous. The the
Yeah.
it's like a like string of like six noises. And they're like, "See, they said my name. Did they? Did
Yeah.
they really?" I don't know. That's what I'm saying though. Is like I think that's a lot
Yeah.
of the reason that people nowadays, not ghost hunters, don't believe is because of how ridiculous those damn shows are.
Yeah. Yeah, Goatmeal says she likes how they're always they're always saying the only possibility, the
Yeah.
single possibility is ghosts. Like
Hmm.
it could be nothing else.
It's like aliens. Aliens is the answer for everything.
Yeah,
So
but
I don't know, but I think that the equipment that they use is
it's kind of like pseudosciency.
it is.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's very
that's
pseudosciency.
what they. I mean, that's what they like. That's what they classify it as. Is pseudoscience. Um,
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing is that from what I've read is that they don't really use the um the equipment right. So
Mhm.
they're using this stuff and they're basically interpreting um, the information that it puts out to them, and they're not even using it correctly. So
Yeah.
they're just interpreting things that don't they're nothing. It's nothing, and they're interpreting it because they think that that's what it's supposed
So I guess that begs the question, like, obviously the ghost hunting shows are purely entertainment, I would argue.
to. Hmm.
But if they're not using the equipment right and they're not really qualified to be doing it, I mean, I think that brings up several questions.
Hmm.
Are there people who are, legitimate ghost hunters who know how to operate that equipment and can read and use it correctly? Um, and I guess the second question is if all of those machines are really just purely pseudoscience, you know, I think that the implication of the paranormal not being able to be quantified is something pretty big, right? I mean, because you have to think if ghosts are real, spirits are real,
Hmm.
but they cannot be quantified. Science can't replicate results.
Hmm.
Uh, then I don't know. Like I said, there are tons of implications that opens up this whole other question of what else out there exists that can't be quantified. And I know there are things like, Bigfoot and other
Hmm.
things. I think those are like actual physical beings, but when you're talking about, phenomenon that can't ever be replicated or measured, I think that there are a lot of questions open up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that whenever any way you go about talking about ghosts, it opens up more questions than it answers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you can't. No one's gonna have all the answers for all the vast amount of questions you're gonna have regarding ghosts and ghost hunting. I think that like you said, if they can't use the equipment properly, or they're using it improperly, or however, whatever you want to say, um, there's got to be somebody out there that understands how it works. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't have been made. I mean, that might be a little short sighted on me to say that. But I would assume, using open common sense, that if you make something, you understand how it works.
Mhm.
However, if you don't, if it's used purely for entertainment purposes on TV, or on ghost hunting tours, tourist attraction type stuff,
Mhm.
then it might not matter if you know how it works, if you're the creator, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Okay.
does.
Okay. So I think that in that sense, that I think that you're just running into, like you said, more questions, just more questions.
Yeah, and I tend to be a little more pessimistic. So, I mean, all of the shows, all of the ghost tours that you can go on. I mean, I think that it's such a Um, it's really like more of an entertainment industry at this point where you can make a lot of money talking about ghosts or trying to prove that ghosts exist, that it's really just muddied the waters when you want to talk about this topic seriously, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, and that's what I was saying. Like that's what I was saying earlier with like the stigma, that comes with, oh, I believe in ghosts. Really? Why? Because all the shows on TV are fake. They don't even know how to use their equipment. Blah blah blah. So you kind of, it's really hard to like open up an honest discussion um, when the quote unquote pros, as you know, um, we like to call them, I guess, pros, don't even understand how it works. Also,
Yeah.
if you want to talk about Tupac, we can talk about the Tupac conspiracy. If you like, we can talk about. I can spend 3 or 4 hours talking about the Tupac conspiracy. No joke. Um, First of all, and second of all, Pirate Monkey. That is exactly what I believe. That is
Oh, is that what you
that is
believe?
100% what I believe.
That's a cool theory. I was just thinking purely like spiritual versus like energy remnants, but the multi-universe theory, that's actually a really cool one.
Yeah, that's what I believe, is that rather than it being a ghost, or what we think of as a ghost, a dead person, um, the two universes are kind of rubbing too close together at that point, and you
They're
kind of
rubbing
like,
up on each other.
yeah, and you step through for a split second, or you see through for a split second, and that gives you the quote unquote ghost. Um, it would also, in my opinion, it would explain some of the angry ghosts that try and chase you out of places, right? We see that often, and granted, it's a TV show, but we see it often on TV where they're like, "Oh, get out," blah blah blah, and it's like, dude, if someone came into my house, like, I would chase them out too. That's all I'm saying.
Mhm. What if instead of a multiverse, what if it's more of like a time time loop? What if people get stuck in time? They get stuck between time.
Stuck between. There you go. See, that's a good point, Goat
And
Meals.
that
That
would
can't.
explain the old-timey dress of some ghosts.
Yeah. Or again with the multiverse, like maybe they never advanced to make more like different clothing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
they're like in that dimension, they're they're still old timey. I don't know. It's just an interesting
yeah.
thing to think about. I think. Um,
Yeah, and so Goat Meals is asking, why can't everyone see ghosts or why hasn't everyone seen ghosts? And I think that if you're talking about the multiverse theory or even like stuck in time or something else, I mean, you would have to think that it's probably a very rare occurrence. So it wouldn't be happening to a lot of people.
yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
if you're thinking about ghosts in the traditional sense, I mean, I guess you could say the same thing,
yeah. I mean, I think that
maybe.
especially if you're talking about the multiverse theory, is that I would hope that these multiple universes aren't bumping against each other that often. If that's the case, I would
Yeah.
hope. But again, I don't know. So, but yeah, that's my theory. Is
I
that
mean, oh,
it's just a bunch of different universes, and you step through a portal or look through a looking glass, and there you go.
yeah, and in terms of people seeing ghosts, I feel like I know more people who have a ghost story than not. Um, so I don't know if that means anything. if you think about the people you know and how many ghost stories they might have.
I don't
I don't know,
know.
maybe it's more prevalent than you think,
Yeah.
potentially. Yeah. So, I don't know.
The multiverse theory just makes it seem like a way to be like ghosts are real, but it's rare and we can't prove it. You just have to believe. It doesn't quite hold up. Well, nothing holds up if you're putting it under a microscope like that. That's why it's a theory.
Well, I think that yeah, I mean, I think it's less of an excuse to say well, I don't know. I mean, yes, I would agree. That's why it's a theory. It's a theory because it can't be proven.
Yeah, I mean,
And I mean, if we could prove a multiverse theory, that would be, I think, the ghosts or the flashes of people would be the least of our concerns.
I think if we could prove a multiverse theory, I wouldn't give a shit about ghosts.
Yeah. Well, I
Like,
mean, I guess they're not quite ghosts at that part, right? They're
right,
just like flashes of people or,
right,
yeah,
something.
glimpses through a portal. Yeah.
So I don't know. That also, the multiverse theory is a part of the missing 411 cases, which we covered first on the conspiracy reviews.
Is
Um,
it?
yeah, because they think that maybe there's like like
They're like going through other dimensions in those
yeah,
areas.
there. It's like that's the
Mm.
spot. That's the one spot, or whatever, where it rubbed against each other or it overlapped at a certain point, and they got taken along when it split back apart, and that's why they're there 1 minute and they're gone the next.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you want to give your thoughts on Ghost? I know you said you're like you don't necessarily believe, but don't necessarily disbelieve. Is that
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I think that I would say overall I don't believe in ghosts. If I thought I saw something that was a ghost, it depends on the encounter
mm-hmm,
whether or not I would change my mind.
mm-hmm,
I think it's more of, going back to can you prove it? Can it be replicated? Um And, if I started to see some of that, I'd be like, "Okay, well, maybe this, ghost thing has some legs." But, I can't honestly say that one ghost experience would change my mind. Um, Again, depending on the experience. But, I don't know. Yeah, and so, I mean, and I already said, I yeah,
so
I
you're
don't know.
open to the idea.
I am.
All right.
Yes.
Well, welcome in all the ghosts. You heard it there first. She's opening herself up to you. For one. I find that interesting though that you are in that camp with
Mhm.
ghosts. Um, while with the Black Eyed Kids, you seemed more open to the idea of the Black Eyed Kids and less of it being a hoax.
Trying to remember back.
It was
I
like
think that's
2 weeks ago.
because I know. I think that's because it was, with the Black-Eyed Children, I was thinking of it as more of an aliens,
Do you believe in aliens?
extraterrestrial sort of encounter,
Do you believe in
which
aliens?
I find that to be more plausible than demons, if that
Okay, that's fair.
yeah,
Okay,
and I think that's why.
all right. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
I got you. I got you.
yes.
So do we want to open it up to chat now and have them share their experiences if they feel comfortable with it?
Yeah, yeah, if anyone in chat wants to share their, paranormal or ghostly experience, we would love to hear about it and discuss it with you on stream,
Yeah, for
in
sure.
my chat or Tin Man's chat. Do you have while people are typing or thinking, do you have a story, Tin Man?
I actually have two. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're like paranormal. because they could probably be pretty easily explained. Um, at least one of them.
Yeah.
So I'll start with the one that could be pretty easily explained. So I was living back in St. Louis at my old house, and I used to work at UPS. Okay,
Mhm.
so basically, I used to work early mornings, and when I say early mornings, I mean like 1 in the morning until like 9 a.m. That was our
Mhm.
shift, 8 or 9 a.m. And so I get home, I'm exhausted, right? Obviously, because UPS is ridiculous. Anyways, so I'm like sitting on the couch and I like start to doze off, and I wake up, and not long after that you hear like some voices outside, and I'm
Hmm.
thinking, oh great, it's like it's Jehovah's Witness, it's the Mormons coming back, like it's someone coming up to my door that I don't want to talk to because I'm exhausted.
Right.
And so I hear the screen door open, and they're still talking, and I hear the screen door close. Like so I hear them talking up my driveway. I hear them step up on my wooden deck. I hear the screen door open. They're still talking. I hear the screen door close, and I don't hear anything else. So I wait a minute, and I get up. I look out the little peephole in the door, and no one's standing there. I'm like, well, that's weird. Nobody even knocked or rang the doorbell. So I'm like, oh, it must have been like the Girl Scouts like leaving something, because they like leave like the bag for you to put canned goods in. Does that happen where
Right.
you live?
No, but
No,
I
really?
no.
Okay. Anyways,
Oh, well, yeah, I get, yeah.
okay. So I'm like, oh, it must have been like them or somebody leaving something on my doorstep, something like that. So I open the door, and like nothing's there. There's no paper, there's no bag, there's nothing. Nothing's there. It's like somebody just opened the door and like walked away, right? So
Mhm.
then I step off of my deck and I walk out to the middle of the road, and there's no one around. It's like eerily quiet in my neighborhood. No one around. And I mean, from the time that I like heard the screen door shut the last time and I got up, it's probably like a minute and a half. So it's not
Right.
like they could have gotten that far unless they were like in a hurry. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So
Yes.
that was the first one. Again, not super crazy. I wouldn't necessarily say it was a ghost.
Were
Um,
you spooked? Were you,
I
like, scared?
I wasn't scared, but I was a little weirded out. I'm not gonna lie.
Like,
Um,
unnerved?
yeah, I was a little weirded out about it. Um, just because, like I said, it wasn't that long, and that I didn't hear a car drive away or anything like that.
Yeah.
I would have heard them leaving. Not to mention, I didn't hear them walking down my deck stairs. Um, anyways, so that was the first one. Second one, um, I'm at work at UPS, and like I said, I'm from St. Louis. We lock our doors because that's sketchy. Um, so we lock our car doors, right? And it's like the middle of the winter at UPS, and I'm coming out of work, and my buddy who rides with me is standing outside the car, like waiting for me. And I'm like, "What's up, dude?" He's like, "Have you been out to the car lately? Like today already?" And I was like, "No. Why?" And he's like, "Look at this." And so I walk over to his side of the passenger side of the car, and I look at the windshield, right? And there is a handprint on my windshield. It's the left hand print, okay?
Mhm.
And it's like inside of my car on the passenger side. So
Okay.
like if you imagine if you're sitting in the driver's seat of your car, if you
Mhm.
take your left hand and try and reach across to the almost to the passenger window and put your hand there,
Mhm.
but it's on the inside of my car.
Was it the size of your hand?
It was the size of a hand, a man's hand.
This a man's hand, okay.
Um,
Interesting.
but I had the keys with me, and the car was locked.
Hmm.
So
That's pretty spooky.
that's probably the spookiest thing that's happened to me.
Hmm.
That's the thing I would say is closest to a paranormal experience in my life.
Those are pretty spooky, I have to admit.
Any
I have
go ahead.
huh?
Go ahead.
Oh. I honestly, the only I can't really say that I've had a ghost experience. I had a scare one time as a kid, and I, like, chalked it up to ghosts, kind of. I, like, joked about it being a ghost because I just couldn't explain it, but, uh, I don't know, it really could have been anything.
Okay. Tell me everything.
So, I was home alone, and, I had 2 cats at the time. My parents were out. I was, like, I don't know, 13 or 14. So, I was, like, watching TV on the couch, and, the door to the basement was open, and it was, like, a finished basement. My mom worked down there. She had her office down there,
Mhm.
and, the door's, like, cracked, and I hear this huge, like, thud and, like, a crash, and I, like, it's, like, scared me. So, like, okay, I should probably, like, maybe there's a cat down there, maybe it got into something. So I go down there, no cats. I realized afterwards that both of the cats were just, like, sitting in the same room with me. Looked around, like, couldn't see anything that had fallen. It's not like a pile of books fell or something.
Mhm.
I couldn't see anything that had actually fallen or something, like, big enough that would make that noise,
Mhm.
and so I like, immediately ran back up the stairs and, like, slammed the basement
Basement
door
door.
and just, like, huddled in the corner of the couch, like, waiting for my parents to get
Nope,
home.
that's too much for me. I don't like it. I don't like
But that was, like, literally the only thing that ever happened at that house. Never had any other, like, ghostly or paranormal experience, so I don't know.
maybe to you. Maybe to you that was the only
May
thing that happened. Did you ever ask your
maybe
family?
no, I didn't.
No, you should. You should ask them if anything ever happened to them in that house.
Maybe. Maybe I should.
Maybe that was the only time it happened to you.
To me, yeah, that's a possibility. Could be it.
Digstown says he asked me if I knew of a place called Sowers Castle. I guess that's how you would say it. It's in Kansas City, Kansas, so close to where I live.
Oh, good.
And okay, so let me start this off. You can look it up in Kansas City, Kansas. We broke into it when I was 16. Good job, Diggs. And went through the basement, and the only room we couldn't enter was a master bedroom. Two giant ass double doors. No power and has been abandoned for years. So then he says, when we were leaving, we heard a giant door slam and looked up and saw the bell tower and master bedroom with the lights on, and then they shut off. That's what he
Oh.
said.
Wait, couldn't that have, like, been someone who already
But he
and
said
they
no
were
power,
like,
no power,
uh,
and it's been abandoned for years. Could
interesting.
have been a squatter, I guess,
Yeah.
but still the no power. He
That's
said
pretty spooky, though.
that they were in there for hours. There was no one in there, and he did say that they could. That was the only room they couldn't enter.
Hmm.
Interesting. I'm wondering
I
why couldn't you enter it? Was it locked?
I feel that, like, that's, like, kids up there, like, doing something they're not supposed to be doing.
Probably. It was probably Diggs.
It was probably Diggs.
I mean, he said he broke into the place. Like, I don't know, or the caretaker. I don't know. We weren't supposed to. You can see the pictures. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look it up. Interesting. Okay. Well, do you
And it
have
was
anything
called
else?
Sours Castle?
Yeah. Let's see. SAU. I think.
Oh, yeah, Sours Castle. Interesting. I, when I was young, this isn't a really a ghost story. It's a what should have been a ghost story, and I wish it was a ghost story, but turned out not to be a ghost story.
Hmm.
There was this, huge, like, compound, right down the street from where I lived that at the time, in the past, it had been like a, facility for people with, mental disabilities.
Okay.
So if they were severe enough, or I guess if their family just needed help, they would live full time there. So this compound had like apartment buildings, hospital, had a church,
Okay.
and all this other stuff. And so when I was younger, it's like a dog park and like actual nice park now. But when I
Yeah.
was younger, it had been abandoned. And so my friends and I went down there and ended up kind of doing the same thing as Diggs, but we ended up it actually wasn't even locked. It was just open. So we weren't technically breaking in. We were trespassing, but we went into one of the open buildings that
Juvenile
I
delinquent.
yeah, yeah. I don't it was some sort of like hospital, like apartment hybrid, but they were just I was really hoping for some sort of paranormal moment, and it didn't happen. Maybe it's because we were there during the day, but it had everything going for it to be like a paranormal experience. People had died there. It
Mhm.
was abandoned. It was spooky,
Yeah.
but nothing ended up happening. So it was kind of a letdown.
Yeah. I mean, the most famous one is probably well, at least one of the most famous ones is probably like I said, St. Alexia Brothers Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri.
Mhm.
That's where the kid from The Exorcist was held. And like I said, to this day, they don't go. I think it's the third floor, something like that. They
Mhm.
don't go there. It's completely shut down. Um, and so even if they have to go down there for like something, uh, they've reported, like eerie feelings. Um, and I mean, they've reported all kinds of stuff. You
Yeah,
know, um,
interesting.
but that's one that you should look into if you. And it's really weird because I think if I remember correctly, like the the old, because now I think it's just Saint Alexis
St.
Hospital,
Alexis.
or it was Saint Alexia Brothers or the Alexia Brothers Hospital. And if I remember correctly, it burned down, or part of it burned down, and then they tore it down and rebuilt it. Like where the parking lot is now is where the old hospitals it used to be. And
Yeah, it's
so
on a bunch of like most haunted
yeah,
lists.
yeah, it's
So yeah,
definitely
it's
up there.
interesting.
Um,
Hmm.
I always say that we should bring a Ouija board to the parking lot and have a little chat.
No.
And
That sounds like the worst idea.
everybody's like, "Oh yeah, let's do that." I was like, "Yeah, we can call Bazuzu. That'd be fun." Like, who the hell's that? I was like, "Have you ever seen The Exorcist?" Like, that's what that's from. Like, oh
Yeah,
no, I'm not doing that.
I
Okay.
don't know. I would go check it out. I wouldn't bring a board or anything. Like I would walk around, sure, but I wouldn't like tempt any
Would you go to the
ghosts
the floor that's shut down?
yeah, I would.
Would you?
Yeah.
Got bigger balls than I do.
Yeah, but I don't believe in ghosts. So like I would go and experience what there is to experience there. But someone mentioned earlier, I'm not gonna like tempt anything evil
Yeah.
either. Like I'll just hang out, but I'm not
I
gonna
don't know.
call on anything.
I don't know. I know I've heard stories of people that worked there, and they're like, "Yeah, the third floor is the worst, but the whole hospital is something
Yeah. I
crazy."
mean, I wouldn't go alone. Like I wouldn't go in there by
No,
myself. But if I was with a group of people,
I'm just saying. Just saying.
I mean, who wants to go walk around an abandoned place at
It's not
dark by
abandoned
yourself
anymore.
anyway? Well,
It's
the third floor.
well, yeah, that is, but the rest of the
Yeah.
hospital is still in use. There's still patients just
Oh, well, yeah.
hanging
So
out,
it's fine. It's
dealing with
fine.
the demons and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
I have nothing else. Does anybody else have any um ghostly stories? Actually, it's probably about time for you to go to bed, isn't it?
Yeah, but I can wait for any parting comments or stories about ghosts, but I think on my end, like I think I'm wrapped up on ghosts here.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that Personally, I think that you have to open yourself up to it in order to experience it, and if you shut yourself off from it, you're not going to experience it.
Mhm.
Um, that's just my own personal beliefs, and like I said, um, I think that it could be a multiverse type thing, and that you know it's sort of like tectonic plates, with earthquakes. Um, they rub against each other, and then stuff happens. I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, that's all I got though.
There's a lot of different theories for ghosts, and a lot of people have polarizing opinions on them. And but I think we had a good discussion about, a lot of different ghostly topics.
I agree. Um,
Mhm.
if you guys would like to reach us, get in contact with us and talk about maybe your favorite conspiracy theory that you want to talk about, you want to hear us talk about, you can reach us at TinBiscuitR on Twitter, at TinBiscuitReviews at gmail.com, for email, you know, either Biscuits Discord, the Trailblazers Discord. What else? Is that it?
I think that's
Or
it. I
social
think you
media,
covered
any
everything.
social medias that you might want to get us a hold of us on. um we'll be back
Mhm.
again
2 weeks.
2 weeks, so it would be November the 12th. So we'll
Yeah.
figure stuff out, and if that doesn't work, we're always pretty flexible, if somebody has something going on.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
yeah, we don't have a topic for next time as of yet, so if you guys have anything, I know we were kind of like on the spooky track this month for Halloween, but um honestly, I would love to get into like scientific theories again, like our talk on sim life,
Hmm.
simulated life. That was really fun.
That was good.
But if you guys have any sort of theories, ideas, legends, any of
Tupac.
that stuff,
Tupac.
uh, yeah, I mean, we could. I would have to do research because I don't know anything about it, but we could do that for sure.
All I'm saying is, I'm not saying the dude's alive, but I'm saying there's some really weird stuff that points to him maybe being alive. That's all I'm
What
saying.
about
That's all I'm saying.
what about celebrity death conspiracies? Because like I don't know the Tupac one, but I do know about the Avril Lavigne one, and
Avril
I feel
Lavigne
like
one?
there, yeah, where people think the real Avril Lavigne actually died, and the current Avril Lavigne is actually her like singing double, her voice double.
Isn't there another celebrity that they say did that too?
Well, that's what
Um,
I'm saying. I think that there are probably a lot of these theories out
there
there. So
probably
maybe
is.
another topic.
Dave Chappelle is a clone.
Is a good we could do, like, ridiculous celebrity, like,
Hey now.
conspiracies.
Hey, I'm not saying Tupac is ridiculous. All right?
Sorry, we could just do normal and very,
I will
probable
say though,
theories.
if it it's something that's really interesting to look into, the Tupac thing, because it gets a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. Just
Okay.
some of the things that have happened since he died are really
Yeah.
weird. I'll give you one quick one, right? So near the end of his career, he changed his name to Machiavelli, right?
Mhm.
Um, he so do you know who Nikolai Machiavelli is?
No.
Okay, so he faked his own death. He's like 17th century philosopher or something like that. Um, he faked his own death and then he came back to life, right? So like he
Mhm.
faked his death and then he came out and he was like, "Hey guys, just kidding, I'm not dead." So
Okay.
Tupac got really obsessed with Nikolai Machiavelli and the idea of faking your death. Okay,
Okay.
so hang on. So Tupac changes his name from Tupac Shakur to Machiavelli on his like record and stuff.
Mhm.
So he releases an album called uh, Machiavelli: The 7 Day Theory. So Nikolai Machiavelli killed himself, quote unquote, and then 7 days later, quote unquote, rose from the dead. Right.
Mhm.
So that's what the whole idea of the album is. So in his album, in the little booklet that comes with it, it says exit Tupac, enter Machiavelli. Okay.
Mhm.
And then at the end of that booklet, it says exit Machiavelli, enter Black Haze. Okay. So
Okay.
Tupac gets killed, everything's quiet. Then this dude in Cuba starts making music under the name Black Haze. Not only that,
Okay.
he sounds exactly like Tupac. That's
There
all I'm
you
saying.
go.
That's all I'm saying. And there's
That's all
been
you're saying.
numerous, like hundreds and hundreds of sightings of Tupac in Cuba, and they legitimately look like Tupac. I don't know. It's just it's really
All the
interesting to look
facts are
into.
there. All the
It's
facts are there.
I'm not saying he's alive, mainly because if he were to fake his own death, he would have came back already.
It's like
Um,
the movie we watched, the Eddie and the Cruisers.
yeah, that's a good movie. All right,
Well,
but
yeah, but it's the same thing. It's like he changed his name, or he what? He was
he does
obsessed
change
with
his
this
name.
poet who ended up killing himself,
Yeah,
or faking his death,
yeah,
and whatever. It's the same. It's the same
it's
story.
basically the same thing.
Yeah.
But if he were to fake his own death, Tupac, he would have already came back. Anyways,
Maybe he didn't want to come back.
I think part of it is that he really can't come back because he would be picked up for tax evasion
So
at this point.
it's a little. It's like more practical.
Yeah, I think.
Right?
I mean, there's other things like his mom visits Cuba every year on his birthday or around his birthday, so it's just like there's just things that are interesting to think about. I think,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't believe that he's alive, but I think it's interesting to look into all the little things that kind of make a web of ideas.
Conspiracy web.
Yeah, conspiracy web.
Yep.
There's another conspiracy. Bob Marley is alive. Jesus.
So, yes, definitely a topic for another time because I feel
Yes.
like we could go into a bunch of like death conspiracies,
Yeah,
celebrity death conspiracies. Yeah.
for sure. We can definitely do that.
Yes.
But
All
yeah,
right.
guys.
Well, as
Anything
far as
else?
ghosts go, I think we're good. I think we're gonna wrap up. Thank you, Tin Man,
Thank you,
for
Biscuit.
being an amazing co-host as always.